Kadosh, if you remember, good evening. We are on Taanit Daf Gimel Amud Aleph 3A1. We just finished the Braita where it said in the name of Rabbi Natan Omer.
What are you doing?
Like this, we just learned Bakodesh Asech Nesech Shechal Hashem. Yeah, he says like this. Listen to the Torah Tmima. Hasech Nesech. Tanya Rabbi Natan Omer. Rabbi Natan says Bakodesh Asech Nesech. בשני ניסוחים הכתוב מדבר, אחד ניסוח המים ואחד ניסוח היין. אס הגמרא ואם התרבה יהודכם, אם כן לכתוב קרא, או הסך הסך או נסך נסך. מהי הסך נסך? שמה מינה תרתי. The Torah Tmima is a sefer on the Chumash that on the Pasuk, he brings you down the Midrashim or the Gemarot that speak about that which you just spoke about. Okay, very important. Which means if I'm going to go in the Midrash, right? Or for example, I just went to the Pasuk. I went to the Pasuk when I went to the Pasuk and I found our Gemara, Tani Gimel Amud Aleph. Listen to what the Torah Tmima says. He says, Kach mashma lei mikefel lashon hapoal hasech nesech. This is what's mashma, the fact that it says double hasech nesech. ומההבדל השם נסך שחר, שפירושו נסך של שחר. Why does it say נסך שחר? נסך שחר means it has to be a nesachim of shechar, which is what? Which is of wine, right? Any type of a liquid which is like wine. ואם לא היה רק נסך אחד, לא אבל לכתוב אלא נסך שחר. Just tell me, נסך שחר להשם. Why does it say הסך? אלא ודאי שיש שני נסחים, and it's hinting to us to ניסוך המים. Understood? Which means this. You could have said, ונזכור רביתה in לכבש האחד, בקודש נסך שחל להשם. Why does it say בקודש הסך נסך שחל להשם? The fact that it's two different ones. So says the Gemara, Rashi told you that the fact that it changed, and it said hasech nesech, and it did not say nesech nesech or hasech hasech, we learned two different halachot. Number one, that it's one of water and one of wine. And number two, that it's two different ones. Says, Velule devarav, if it wasn't for the pshat of Rashi, nireh lefaresh, I would have understood, dimaya kavanata katuv leorenu, that if the kavanah of the pasuk was to teach us, rak mishne nesachim, the concept of two nesachim, right, shel yain, hava lelichpol rak apol nesach. Meaning like this, if you wanted to teach us that there's two, but there's two of wine, teach the exact same word. Just say nesech nesech or asech asech. Veleze yoter mekuva milashon echad or asech asech or nesech nesech. But why do I have to say also shenesech is of shechar? Right, because it's already known. So he says elavadai shemin nesech echad hu shel mayim, right? Ve'im ken ashmina bazeh da nesech shebekan hu shel yain. So therefore, you just tell you the nesech is of yain. So therefore, it comes out that it comes to teach you two different things. That is the first thing, which is the Torah Tmina that I wanted to share with you. So one more time, the Gemara says Rabbi Natan comes and he teaches another learning of Nisuch HaMayim. Where do we learn the Nisuch HaMayim? Bakodesh Asech Nesech Shechal Hashem. It's two Nisuchim the pasuk is talking about, right? What are the two pasukim that the Nisuch is talking about? One is Nisuch HaMayim and one is Nisuch HaYayim. Says the Gemara, maybe we're both talking about wine and not one of them water. So it comes to teach you, Shema Mina. He says, if so, the Torah should have written Hasech Hasech or Nesech Nesech. Why does it teach you Hasech Nesech? Shema Mina, one of wine and one of water. Until here, we're clear the Chazara? Mm-hmm. Very good. Now,
we didn't get that last night.
Now we're going to start something new, which is basically we're going to give a chidush that we learned from doing Chazarot. I don't know how many times. So I will tell you after probably the 6th, 7th, I don't remember how many times, right? I was going over it with Baba Haki. We had a few minutes, right? And I went and I did the Chazarah with him, right? We were waiting on Friday night for Kinyan, for the second Kinyan, and we did a Chazarah from the beginning until the end, which means from Me'ematai until where we got up to. So we did an entire daf. So he made up his, he made it up, right? He made up all his Chazarot. But I will tell you the chidush that I had. I asked you guys a question and I didn't have an answer. If you remember, the question is that Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says there are Gimel Maftechot Biyad Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Biyadosh Hakadosh Baruch Hu. 3 keys in the hands of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Right? We had the one of Chaya, we had the one of Geshamim, and we had the one of Techiyat HaMetim. Yeah, Chaya is giving birth, right? The Techiyat HaMetim. If you want, you could either change it, right? Whichever one there was in the order, or there was as first of giving birth, then of rain, and then Techiyat HaMetim, which is the order, right, of the way that it goes, chronological order. But then afterwards it came, and one second, because there's two. Very good. So there's 2 different versions. The one in the Gemara, right? The one in the Gemara is rain giving birth and Techiyat HaMetim.
Yeah.
But the Bach changed it. The Bach changed it. The first is giving birth, was first you give birth. Now you need rain. And after the rain comes Techiyat HaMetim. Techiyat HaMetim for sure is the last one. Okay, the question is what comes first, the birth or the rain? But that's the difference between the way that we have it in our Gemara and the Bach. However, though, my question was, where do we get the pasuk of, how do we know that we got the pasuk of giving birth? So right away when we were learning the Gemara, we went and we said, we started learning it. And where do we learn from giving birth? We learned it from Bereshit, from where? Vayiskor Elokim et Rachel, right? It's Kadosh Baruch Hu remembered Rachel, right? Vayishma Elea. I right away, what did I ask you? Why didn't we bring down Vashem Pakad et Sarah? Right away I asked you that. The first time that we saw it. I asked you, I said, if somebody's going to remember, when is the Kadosh Baruch Hu going to come and remember or to do a miracle of giving birth? Hashem Pakad et Sarah.
I know the answer, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. You said.
David, you're not here to put order. So what happens is like this. He says, very, very simple, right? We said in the Gemara, it says, "Vayiskor Elohim et Rachel vayishma eleha." Yeah, that he remembers her, vayiftach et Rachman, and he opened up her womb. Okay. So now, did you realize we already brought down the Tur? That the Tur says that there has to be a certain amount of words. But forget about that, because there's nothing to do with the amount of words. You know what the chidush was? Very, very simple. Did you realize that in every single one of them, it's all mentioned poteach, tiftach. It's all mentioned mafteach. Mafteach comes that you're opening something up. Every single pasuk has to do with opening something up. If it would have just brought down Vashem Pakad et Tzara, Vashem Pakad, which comes from the word mafteach. If it comes from the word Vashem Pakad et Tzara, Kasher Amar, and then all of a sudden he had a child, Chazak Baruch, HaKadosh Baruch Hu remembered Tzara, Pakad is Pekidah, is to remember, but there's no opening, nothing. Right? There's no paticha, there's no mafteach. So therefore, they purposely came and they wanted to use the lashon of peticha, which is mafteach. You use a mafteach liftoach. So therefore, it comes and it says, "Vayiskor Elokim et Rachel." Sorry, the first one was Yiftach Hashem lecha et otzerot v'shvaim v'zechabito. Next one, Vayiskor Elokim v'yishma elea. But it wasn't just until there. Why? Vayiftach et Rachma. It opens up its womb. Mafteach shel Techiyat HaMetim yidaten k'nei befitchi et kivrotechem. And then even the last one of Parnasah, poteach et yadecha, which means that we purposely had to use the lashon of poteach, of liftoach, because that's the mafteach. That is the proof that everything has to do with the maftechot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's why it's so important. That's why I only was mechadesh. Just that I was just reading it again. I said, one second, I had this question. I never got the answer. And I'm reading it again. I said, 1 second. You see it in the word mafteach, petach, poteach, liftoach. Every single time it's poteach, petach. I realized once that's the reason why. So that was my chidush. Yeah, we're going to continue, right? Haki?
Oh.
You want? Kadosh. Now we're going to start the next part. The next part is basically as follows. I'm going to tell it to you outside and then inside. There is a Mishnah. The Mishnah says Nisuch Hamayim is called Shiva. Nisuch Hamayim is all 7 days. Who does that go like? Right? Why? Right? Because if you're going to tell me now that Nisuch Hamayim is going to be all 7 days, which shita is that? Yeah? What does that mean? Guys, I'm going to ask you a question. According to Rabbi Yoshua, when do you mention Kivurot Geshamim? Which day? Shmini Atzeret. Yeah? Shmini Atzeret, the end of the Chag. So fine, but that's only going to be 1 day. If it's going to be Rabbi Akiva, when do you mention it? Shishi. So how many days is it going to be? 2 days. It's going to be Rabbi Yehuda Metzera. How many days? It's second onwards, right? If it's going to be Rabbi Elazar, right? Rabbi Eliezer, the first one. Rabbi Eliezer says from the beginning, from Yom Rishon. So therefore, it's going to be all 8 days. So therefore, who is it? So let's look inside. Ella haditznan, but that which we learned in the Mishnah is Sukkah Membet Amud Aleph. The Mishnah says Nisuch Hamayim Kol Shiva. Nisuch Hamayim is all 7 days. Nisuch Hamayim Kol Zayin. Zayin is 7. So Nisuch Hamayim is all 7 days. Mani. What's Mani? Who is that? Who's that? Who's the author of that? Yeah, Mani. So he says, Rabbi Yoshua, if you're going to tell me, right? If you're going to tell me, right? Remember, what are we talking about? Rabbi Yoshua, if you're going to tell me it's Rabbi Yoshua, name Chad Yoma. Yeah, what does it mean Chad Yoma? Right? Why don't we just say it's going to be 1 day, right? Why 1 day? The last day, like what you just said. It's not going to be 7 days. It's going to be Shmini Atzeret. It's going to be the last day, or even maybe even Shvi'i, right? But it's not going to be Shmini Atzeret, because when do you put down the lulav? By the way, that was something that we never talked about until now, right? We said that when you take off down the lulav, so there's a machloket, right? Does it mean Rabbi Yoshua on the 7th day or the 8th day? Because when do you put down the lulav? You put down the lulav on the 7th day, right? But some people say no, that it means that you don't use it on the 8th, so it's the 8th. But there's a machloket. But for sure, though, it's only going to be 1 day, right? It's going to be whether it's the 7th or the 8th, but it's 1 day. Okay, Rabbi Akiva, if it's going to be like Rabbi Akiva, Trei Yome, it's going to be 2 days, because he's talking about the 6th and the 7th. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, if it's going to be Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, he says Shita Yome, it's going to be 6 days, right? Why? Because when does Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera say that you're allowed to do it? When does Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera say? On the 2nd day. So therefore, it's going to be 6 days. So therefore, who's this Braita? Not the Braita, it's a Mishnah. Sorry, Mishnah. Which one? But now the Gemara is going to answer. Really, Be'emet, it's Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. Really, Be'emet, it's going to be Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. Now he says, "Usfira like Rabbi Yehuda de Matniti." Now he holds like Rabbi Yehuda of our Mishnah. What is our Mishnah? The Tanan, because there's a Mishnah in Sukkah Memchet Amubet. Beforehand was a Mishnah in Membet Amubet. Now it's a Mishnah in Sukkah in Memchet Amubet. Rabbi Yehuda says, Belog haya menasech kol shmona umapik rishon umeayel shemini. Which means that according to Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, what was Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera? Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera says that you start on the 2nd day, correct? That was Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. But now Rabbi Yehuda, right, is going to come, and he's going. There's a Tanakama there. The Tanakama, and there's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera was like Rabbi Yehuda of the Mishnah. What was the Mishnah they're talking about? How do you do the Nisuch Hamayim? So first of all, right, there's a machloket. Do you do the Nisuch Hamayim with a utensil that has 3 logs, or with a utensil that has 1 log? Log is a measurement. So for example, when we're talking about Revi'it a log, so the Gemara says one more time, the Gemara says, Elahad ditnan, that which we learned in the Mishnah in Sukkah, Membet Amubet, Nisuch Hamayim Kol Zayin, Nisuch Hamayim is Kol Shiva, all the 7 days is Nisuch Hamayim, which means that they do Nisuch Hamayim every single day of the 7 days of the Chag. Mani, who is that? Rabbi Yoshua, if you're going to tell me it's Rabbi Yoshua, name Chad Yoma. Why don't I just say that it's even going to be 1 day, right? Which is going to be what? Shmini Atzeret. It's not going to be the 7 days. Rabbi Akiva, if it's going to be Rabbi Akiva, Trei Yom, it's going to be 2 days, because it's going to be the 6th day and the 7th day of Sukkot. It's not the 7 days. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, if it's going to be Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, Shita Yom, it's going to be 6 days. From the 2nd day until the 7th day, it is only 6 days. It's not 7 days. So therefore, who's it going like? Answers the Gemara, Leolam Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. Really, it's Bemet Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. Now remember, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera goes that we start on the 2nd day. So he says, Utzvil like Rabbi Yehuda de Matnitin. He holds like Rabbi Yehuda of the Mishnah there. Titzanan, as we learned in the Mishnah there. What do we learn in the Mishnah over there? Rabbi Yehuda says, Belog hayam menasech kol shmona. With one log, they used to do nisuch hamayim, right? Menasech kol shmona, all 8 days. That means according to Shitat Rabbi Yehuda, they used to do with one log, not 3. Tana Kame held, they used to do the nisuch hamayim with 3 logs. Rabbi Yehuda argues and he says, 1 log. Number 2, mapik rishon umeayel shemini. What does that mean? According to Tanakama, you do it the first 7 days. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you also do it 7 days. But you take out the first day and you bring in the 8th days. Mapik, do you know what a mapik is? Mapik is mapik hay. You know what a mapik hay is? Mapik hay is when you have a dot in the hay. When you have a dagesh in the hay, what are you supposed to do? Right, you have to actually sound it. By the way, there's a lot of me'aratzot, right, that they read parasha also. Don't think that the people that read the parasha are not the me'aratzot. There's a lot of me'aratzot that they read parashiot, and they don't know what mapikeh is. Now, the problem is that it changes mapikeh. For example, in this week's parasha, right, look in the Rishon, it says in every single tikkun that you'll find in the world, be very careful in the mapikehs, because there's 4 hays, 2 have mapikehs and 2 don't. And it changes the explanation if you don't do it. Another one is usara or usara. In the first aliyah, this morning I went and I said usara lo achfach lavan. All of a sudden in the second aliyah, it's going to be written usara lo achfach lavan. It changes the entire explanation. I'm not going to go now into all the explanation. Usually it's the se'ar shelah. Or for example, isha is a woman. Isha, her husband. Isha shelah. It's a ish shelah. It's like isha shelah, ish shelah. So for it changes everything. Everything. If a person does not do mapikeh properly, it changes the explanation. So therefore, and that's why I just said that there's even a me'aratzot that they read parashiot, but they just don't know what a mapikeh is. So they come and everything's the same. The same. It makes it, by the way, much easier. They say you don't have to remember what's no everything's the same. But that's called mapik. Mapik means to express it out, to take it out. You have to take out the hay. The hay has to sound, right, much more than just sound, because if not, then the hay is usually silent. But here you have to actually sound the hay. Okay, mapik rishon, you take out the first day, ume'ayel shemini, and you're going to bring in the 8th day. So therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda Memetera, it comes out, right, that he's going to take out the mitzvah of Yom Rishon of Sukkot, and according to him, you're not going to start the nisuch only on the 2nd day of Chag, but you're going to add Shmini Atzeret. So that is the shita of Rabbi Yehuda Memetera, that he goes like Rabbi Yehuda. So ask the Gemara, Umayshna Rishon Delo. According to Rabbi Yehuda Memetera, why is it that you're not going to do it on the first day? Why are you not going to do it on the first day? Mordechai is on fire. He says you have the remez on the 2nd day. Says the Gemara, Umayshna Rishon Delo. What is the reasoning why in the first day you're not going to do it? Because where's the remez? It starts on the 2nd day. So he says, 1 second. Shmini Nami. On the 8th day. Right? But on the 8th day, was there a remez? No! It was the 7th day, was the last day. 267. It was 267. Shmini Nami. Kiremize Mayim, right? Bashviu Deremize. Right? When he comes and he gives the remez was only going to be on the 7th day. So therefore, just like the beginning of the mitzvah was by Yom HaSheni because of the remez, so too it should finish on the Yom HaSheni because of the remez, and not by Yom HaShemini. So therefore, what are you telling me? It's Rabbi Yehuda Memetera. It shouldn't be Rabbi Yehuda Memetera. Okay? I'm going to pause.